our next lesson is titled Writing on the Wall. And so this is after King Nebuchadnezzar is not in power anymore. He's not in control of Babylon. His son Belshazzar is now king. And so it's been many years since Nebuchadnezzar's dream and since Daniel had been put into power and proclaimed basically second ruler over everyone, and but the king. And so the Belshazzar had forgotten about Daniel. And so Daniel's up in age, and Belshazzar has this big feast. And he invites all the people over, all the members of the court, but Daniel wasn't invited. And he takes drinking goblets and different stuff, like different holy artifacts from Jerusalem, from God's holy temple, that were only supposed to be used to worship God. He takes those and he uses them in his feast, and he uses them to worship other gods. And so he is directly disobeying God and just disrespecting God. And defiling, that means disrespecting God. So he defiled all the sacred objects, so these holy objects that God used to worship, that the people used to worship God, he started worshiping false gods with them. And in the middle of his big party, he's having a good time. Everybody is having fun, and all of a sudden a floating hand appears and starts writing on the wall. And it scares everybody in the room. And Belshazzar, he's so freaked out, he's screaming and just saying, "Whoever can tell me what this writing means on the wall, I will make him the richest person ever. I'll give him everything I can." And no one could tell him what was written on, what the hand wrote on the wall. And I don't know about you, but I would be terrified if I saw a hand with nobody come up and start writing on the wall, but it did. And so Belshazzar, he's freaking out, and then the queen comes up to him while he's scared and worried, like, what does this mean? What is going on? He says, there is a man that your father Nebuchadnezzar sought counsel with, that he was able to tell him dreams and all this stuff, and he was placed above all the other wise men, all the other people that were in power. And so he said, where is he? Send for him. And so they went and got Daniel. And Daniel comes out there and he looks at the writing and he tells him that God is angry with Belshazzar. He tells him that your father, Nebuchadnezzar, God had to humble him. He had to go, and because Nebuchadnezzar wanted everybody to worship him, everybody to bow down to him and worship him, said God made him lose his mind. He went crazy and started acting like a wild animal. And it took all that. He said, I humbled him, made him look like a wild animal in front of all of his people, and made him unfit to rule. And then he submitted and said that I was Lord of Lords. And now you, son of Nebuchadnezzar, you Belshazzar, you've seen me do all that to your father, and yet you disrespect me. You sin against me. You use my artifacts of worship, my holy things, to worship other gods. And he says, your days are short. Basically, the writing means that basically I have numbered your days, that you will not be in power long. And soon after that, the Medes, they had come in, and different kingdoms had come in and taken over and removed Belshazzar from power. But God had kept Daniel and his people safe, and God made a way for the Israelite people to survive throughout all this. And so God wants us to be humble before Him and to not worship anybody else, anything else but Him. God desires us, all of us. So we shouldn't worship anything like football, anything, any other gods. And also we need to know that everything that we have, Belshazzar, he had everything. He had a whole kingdom. He had conquered almost everybody. But he thought he did it of his own power. And God's like, I'm the one who placed you in power. So God was in control of everything. But Belshazzar was saying that I did it and my false gods did it, and not our God. But then Our God, the God of Israel, He said, basically, you've been prideful. You have not acknowledged and thanked me for anything that I've done for you. You have disrespected me, and so I'm going to punish you. So we need to realize in our lives that we always need to thank God for everything that He's given us. Thank God for the food that's on your table. Thank God for the roof that's over your head. Thank God for everything that you have, because everything good comes from God. Our memory verse for today is Proverbs 22, verse 4. The reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life. So God, if we are honoring God with our life, if we are thanking Him for the things that we have, and make sure that we always acknowledge that everything that we have that is good comes from God, that God will reward us and bless us.